America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join iBuild America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
I build America.
Greetings, folks, and this is Byron Garrett, the new host of iBuild America podcast. We're so excited that you tuned in not only for the previous series, but for today we have an exciting guest, and we're going to get into fascinating conversations, from politics to programs to businesses and boardrooms. Today we're going to talk with one of the world's most noted entrepreneurs, and that is Dr. Velma Trayham, and we're here live in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here today. Thank you. In hot Arizona.
And hot is an understatement. I used to live here, and it makes me think I'm not ready to relocate. This heat, how do you deal with it? How do you make the adjustment?
You know what? One of the things that I always say is this. If you want to know if you're going to go to hell or if you want to go to hell, you stop in Phoenix in the summer, okay? Because Phoenix is a pit stop before hell. So listen, if you want to just experience hell first before you better do the right thing.
No, I'm good. I'm good. And I know that you're originally from Houston, right? So you're a Houstonian?
Native.
Is that the right term, Houstonian?
It is Houston native.
So I'm curious, being a Houston native, what's the big difference that you see between Texas and Arizona?
You know what? Houston, Texas, more culture.
Oh.
Arizona is on the rise. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
It's on the rise. I've actually been here now. November would be 5 years. I can't believe how fast
time flies, doesn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually recruited here in 2020, smack dead in the middle of COVID, November of 2020. I was recruited here by GPEC to work with public and private companies on changing the data for businesses of color, minority entrepreneurs here in Arizona. What's very interesting is there was a data report that was co-created by GPEC and the state of Black Arizona, which is a data synthesis company, that talked about how the Black businesses in Arizona are disenfranchised, meaning they're not getting access to capital. They're not becoming employer firms and things like that. So I was actually recruited here to help to change that data. And we can get into this a little bit more.
Definitely.
But we've changed the data, honey. Okay?
I was going to say, and you said because this is year 5. So you've had an
5.
opportunity to see it from where it was to where it is now.
Absolutely.
What would you say the secret to success has been in the shift that you've seen in growth in the marketplace?
You know what? The secret, I'll say this. I don't think it should be a secret, but the secret, I think authenticity is key, and people that really know what they're doing. So a little bit about my background. I started my entrepreneur journey very early on in life. I actually have worked 2 corporate jobs prior to my role right now as president and CEO of the Black Chamber of Arizona. I worked for Google for 9 months and a segregation firm for 1.5 years.
So you're just a renaissance leader.
Yeah.
I mean, all around what they say. Oh, I'm sorry. In this day and age, you will be a multi-hyphenate, meaning you do multiple things throughout the industry.
Absolutely. They're not going to put me in a box. I am a problem solver. Okay. I solve problems.
I love that.
I possess the solutions to problems. And so I've had 2 jobs in my entire life. My first 3 companies failed. I decided not to give up. And so within that, I decided that I was just going to keep on building companies. My family said, you know what, I think you should get a job. I said, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use everything that I learned during those 3 companies, and I did just that. And so my 4th company was successful. The 5th company was successful. I was able to sell both of those companies. And then I decided that I would start.
We got to take a time out right there. Did y'all hear that? The first company failed, the second company failed, the third company failed, and then the 4th and 5th were successful, and you sold them.
Yes.
Right? Talk about full circle.
Yes, I was able to sell those 2 companies. And not only, so the thing about it is a lot of times when people feel like they're publicly failing, they don't understand oftentimes that is a redirection to greatness.
That's a word.
That it's a redirection to
greatness.
A
redirection to greatness. You think you're failing, but it's really a redirection to greatness.
Yeah.
If I had an offering plate, I would pass it because I can get a whole bunch of amens literally around the globe on that one statement alone. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that is genuine because people have to understand that what you see outside, that notion that fear is just false events or appearing real, that's just that. But that's not where you start, but where you finish.
That's right.
And look at where you sit now.
Absolutely. And I think it's important even for the the next generation, right? People, especially in where we live right now, in the economy that we live in, a microwave generation where people think that success is an overnight
Right.
thing. It's not an overnight
You mean you
thing.
didn't get to where you are? You didn't just go to bed and wake up? I mean, I know you woke up like this. I know
woke
that.
up like this, for
right?
sure.
But from a business standpoint, you're right. People think that it's just going to happen. Success does not happen overnight, but it does happen over time. And so,
Yeah.
what can you talk a little bit about your journey? Like, how do you go from having failing businesses to then saying, nah, I'm not over yet. I'm going to end up getting to the point that I'll have two that I end up selling because they're highly successful?
Yeah, really, really good question. So after the 3 failures, I decided that I was going to keep going. The 4th and 5th company was successful. So now, and successful to the point I was able to sell them. So when I think about building a successful company, obviously there are different elements within a company. You have operations, you have finance, you have sales, you have marketing, you have all of these different elements of a company that actually builds a successful and a
That's right.
sustainable company, processes and systems that you could actually pass down. And so with that being said, after the 5th company, I decided that I was going to start a consulting company to work with small businesses
To help other people do that.
other people do that. And at the time, I'm like, I need a name for this company. I actually wanted to name the company Godzilla because, I'm like, okay, I'm a really big thinker. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't trademark Godzilla.
Right.
So I started a company called ThinkZilla Consulting Group, home of the big ideas, great results. And so that ThinkZilla will be 13 years in November.
Congratulations.
We've been open and serving public and private companies, but we started off working with small businesses and pastors, mega pastors. We've worked with Pastor Keon Henderson out of Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Took him from 50 members in a high school auditorium to 5,000 members in 2.5 years.
And his virtual audience is growing by the
Pastor
day.
Keon is absolutely phenomenal. So to see where he started when I started with Pastor Keon Henderson to where he is now is absolutely amazing to see the impact of his work. So working with pastors and small businesses across the country. And so what's interesting is my heart for small businesses, because I was born and raised in poverty. My mother had me at the age of 14 years old. But I decided that my end did not have to look like my beginning.
Say that.
Okay, and so oftentimes people feel like because they were born and raised a certain way, they become victimized to that type of mindset. But I am a firm believer that poverty is a state of mind.
That's
and
right.
as long as you have a solution to a problem on the inside of you, because we're all created
That's
to
right.
solve problems. So right now, people don't talk a lot about purpose. People don't talk a lot about understanding your why. But let me get back to the point, because I can go on.
And I'm just sitting there like, yep, and yep. Amen. I get it.
People don't get it. Okay, and so going back to the businesses. So I started receiving inquiries from government entities and corporations that wanted me to build programs for them.
They wanted
that
to know what the
supports
secret sauce was.
the small businesses. So they had the resources to support the small businesses, access to capital and all of those other things. But what they weren't doing, they did not understand how to build programs and how to measure
Right.
the outcomes of the programs. And so I am a data-driven girl. I believe that in order to change the trajectory of anything, we need to be able to look at data, and we respond to data, and we create programs in response to data.
Yeah.
A lot of us think that we know what people's problems are.
And you're right. I've done work down through the years with a variety of folks, and I'll never forget my first encounter with Bill Gates. And we were talking, I was at the time leading a national nonprofit, and they were looking to make a sizable investment from the Gates Foundation. But in this conversation, as we were chatting, he said, all of this stuff that you all presented is great. I need to know what the data says, because I'm going to go where the data says go. And if the data says I need to switch directions or do a U-turn, or I'm in the wrong course of direction, I literally will switch because we need to follow the data. The data is not going to lie. And I'm sitting here thinking you got someone as prominent as Bill Gates saying that, but throughout all of my work, I've realized if you go back to data, it's also the common set of understanding. It can be the baseline for conversation, but it gives you a starting point, and then it helps you measure, are you actually growing year over year, quarter over quarter, or month over month, depending upon how your business is structured. That is such a critical point that a lot of people miss because they ignore the data because they feel good. But we're not worried about how you feel. We're worried about what you can show on a balance sheet. That's what the bank wants to know.
Absolutely. They feel good and it's checking a box. But we've got to move beyond that. We've got to hear directly from people on what's impacting our communities.
So mentioning that, so you came to Arizona, you've been invited to come out, you relocate, you assess the market, you've been met with significant success. So what's on the horizon then? Because I caught that if y'all didn't catch it, you should be reaching out to ThinkZilla so you can understand how to grow what you're doing. And then if you're looking for one of the best in the business, then you probably need to follow her. If you're not doing it already, you need to. Because the strategies that you share help not only individuals, but institutions and communities move forward. So what's on the horizon for you?
You know what? Here's the thing. I believe that there are millions of people that don't understand what their purpose in life is. When I think about my journey and everything that I do, it's directly tied to my life mission, and it is to end poverty through entrepreneurship.
Love that.
I believe that entrepreneurship is a spirit, and I also believe that a lot of people right now, they've lost hope, they don't have faith, and a lot of people want to put faith with Christianity. But let me say this, faith is the substance of the things that we hope for.
Yet the evidence.
The evidence of the
things
that
not
we
seen.
don't
Come on
see.
now.
And so when I think about all of the miracles that happen in the Bible, not to go Christian religion here, I'm talking about what needs to happen right now. So many
That's
people have lost they've lost jobs. The economy is bad. The suicide rate is very high. I mean, drug addiction, mental health, just so much is happening right now. We've got to get back to the basics, and it's operating in purpose and understanding our why, and really understanding what we need to do collectively to help the next generation. Okay. And so when I think about what's on the horizon, Arizona is a phenomenal place, other than it being hot in the summertime. Okay. Because you know what? I'm not going to even act like that's cool, because it's not.
It's not.
Okay. It is not cool. The heat here is not cool. I do travel a lot. I speak all over the world, actually. But I think that Arizona has a lot of potential. And when I think about what's on the horizon, a lot of Black and brown businesses are expanding. They're coming to Arizona. There was a point in time where people didn't even know how beautiful Arizona was and the opportunities that exist here in Arizona. So I believe I'm here as a conduit, as a forerunner, as a trailblazer, as an innovator to really create solutions to problems.
Well, in mentioning trailblazer, like you're our inaugural guest on the show, and so I should say without question, thank you so much for spending the time. But more importantly, thanks for blazing a trail for people to follow and understand what it actually takes. I often tell people two things. One, success doesn't happen overnight, it happens over time. I've said that. But then the second thing related to what you mentioned, I have to remind people, not only is it not where you start but where you finish, but you have to make a conscious decision to do something different if you want your life to change. And that's regardless of what role you have. That's why we do the podcast. Because whether you're the teacher, the professor, the entrepreneur, the truck driver, the case worker, the lawyer, whatever your role is, we all have an opportunity to help build America. And I think the programs that you lead show and demonstrate that in so many ways at scale. Not just a one-off happened here or for this person, but literally transforming entire industries, which is, to think about how that happens on an organic level, I would say it's nobody but God leading and guiding, but without question, you are the vehicle of the day to get that done, and we see that. So know that we see the work that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know what, just to piggyback off of what you just said about, the roles and things like that, entrepreneurs. And so here's what I want to say, because there are a lot of people in corporate that are saying, I want to walk in my purpose, and I don't necessarily feel like, corporate is helping me to do that. And I've been talking a lot about this. So in order to move the needle forward, we need entrepreneurs who are people that are making a difference from the inside out, our corporate allies. And we need entrepreneurs, and these are people that's creating the infrastructure of small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone to our economy right now.
That's exactly right.
But I cannot say that I would be where I am today if I didn't have the public and private partnerships that I have around the country that understands the importance of collaborating. And so not everyone, I need to say this, we need to be clear, not everyone possess the spirit of an entrepreneurship.
That's right.
Entrepreneurship is a spirit.
And the type of work that's required. People say that they want all the glory and the fame, but they don't want to put in the work. Right. Because I tell people, you will never work harder than you'll work for yourself, quite honestly.
And they see the glory, but they don't know the story. Right? They see the glory, like they can look and say, oh, you know, she does this or he does this, he drives this.
That's
this
right.
is, you know, but you don't know what we had to go through.
Right.
To be where we are today.
You don't know that I had 3 failed businesses in your case, or in my case that I had 2 failed businesses.
Yeah.
But the reality is we have the ability to be resilient and to rebound, learn from those lessons. I often have to remind people, listen, failure is going to happen. It's only failure if you choose not to learn from it, because the reality is failure is not final and it's certainly not fatal. So, Dr. Trayham, as we think about the work that you do and all that you've experienced in such a vast career, I'm curious if there were 1 or 2 things that you would tell people, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to get started. What do you tell me? Where do I go? How do I move it from just an idea to actually something tangible? How do I make that work?
The first thing I would say is mindset is a huge thing. Mindset is important. And so we've got to change the way we think about business, period. Create a business that solves problems. When you're solving problems, you'll never need money. A lot of people go into business saying, oh, I'm going to make this kind of money. No, you go into business to solve problems. That's number 1. The second thing I would say is do not allow evil gatekeepers to stop you from walking in the destiny and the purpose that God has predestined for you. There's something in the Bible that's called binding and loosing. And so we've got to become spiritually knowledgeable to understand what we need to do to become what God has called us to do and be. So, but it starts with mindset.
I mean, you said so many things right there in both of those segments. The first thing comes to mind, especially around mindset. I have a quote I use often that says it all begins in the mind, that if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then the hands can achieve it, because it does. It all begins in the mind. And then the second thing you said that's so powerful, that binding and loosing, I don't think people understand the value of that, because we can often get connected to the wrong people and the wrong spirit and end up in the wrong place and don't even know how we got there. So paying attention to the energy that's around you, what you invite in. I tell people also, all money ain't good money. It look like it, but until you see what the strings are that's attached, it might not be where you need to be. You're thinking I need to go right, but you may really need to go left, or you might need to make a U-turn and go in a whole different direction.
Absolutely.
Any other key thoughts you would share with folks?
I would say never, 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 never give up.
Never give up. You all have heard it here from Dr. Velma Trayham. Thank you all so much for tuning in. iBuild America.
Thank you for listening to the iBuild America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. iBuild America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.
I build America.